Tonight, we've got Susan Rodriguez, Chair of Bargaining Unit 1. We're going to take a minute. You all know me, so I'm not going to introduce myself again. We're going to take a minute and let Susan introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Rodriguez. I am the chair of Unit 1, but in my state job, I work for State Compensation Insurance Fund as a senior workers' comp claims adjuster, and been doing that for the last 20 years. I've been a steward, since like 2008. It's been a while. I don't remember when I first became a steward. This will be as we go into 2023 negotiations, this will be my fourth contract that I'll then worked on, second as the chair of Unit 1. So I'm really excited to get some work done next year. I have a really awesome team for Unit 1, the bargaining team. We've got a really great team this year. So that's kind of who I am. I don't know what else.
And how big is the team?
Oh, how big is the team? So our team is 18 folks. We span, Unit 1 itself is very large. So our Unit 1 bargaining team has to be, represent how big we are. Unit 1, it fluctuates every day, but we're at about 56,000 represented state workers in Unit 1. That is a lot. We are in over 100 different departments. So like if there's a state department, there's a Unit 1 in there doing either an AGPA or SSA, or someone's in Unit 1. And we have about, I can't really say how many, haven't counted the classifications yet, but we've got about 330 classifications that we represent in Unit 1. So Unit 1 is your admin and analytical, financial, IT. So we're EDD, we are state claims adjusters, we are your IT workers, the ones giving you your computers. We are in every facet of a state department in the state of California. So we are huge. It's the largest unit in SEIU Local 1000. The next largest would be Unit 4, and I'm sure Karen Jeffers will be on one night soon, and she can talk about that, but she's about 25,000 or so in Unit 4. So between our two units, we are pretty busy representing a lot of Unit 1, or a lot of SEIU Local 1000.
So with that, before we get going here, I have a couple of updates for everybody. There's been a lot of discussion on essential worker pay, and I can assure you that everybody on this side of the house was very unhappy with the proposal the state passed. It was extremely disappointing, and we haven't returned to the table to have any type of a response to the state to date. And we don't have a date planned currently to return to the table to work on that with the state. That is something that's being figured out. The other thing is telework. So there's been lots of questions about when are we going to see our stipend checks? So there's a bill, AB 196, which is with the state legislature. And that's the bill that has to pass to fund telework. It has not passed the legislature yet. It has not gone to the governor's desk for signature. So what we're expecting is that you won't see any kind of a check until late August or September at the moment. This is on the state. It's not on us. If it was up to me, you would have had a check 2 weeks ago at least. And please remember that telework is retroactive to January 1. So if you're got a stipend coming around telework, you should get a pretty decent check in September, which may help you out a little bit. The other thing that I want to do is something that I haven't really done. If you've called in, left me a phone message, sent me your phone number, sent me an email, I've reached back to you. I had a very good call today with Diana Walton. She's an EPR from EDD, and it was around essential worker pay and a telework stipend, and she wanted to really understand what was happening. So we had a little bit of a one-on-one, and I just want to take a minute and acknowledge her and everyone else who's reached out. Thanks. It helps us stay on track and stay in touch. So with that, do you have anything to add before we open it up?
Well, actually, I was thinking of, I should give a shout out to the Unit 1 bargaining team. And so that way folks kind of understand how we have a very diverse group of folks, covering a diverse group of departments. No way can we ever encompass every department when it comes to bargaining, but our goal is to always have a diverse group of folks that make sure that we are touching upon all of the issues that you guys have in the workplace. So I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to my team. So I kind of just going to go down my list. If I apologize in advance if I forget anyone, if anybody on my bargaining team, I forget someone, let me know. But I want to start off with Noreen Nelson. She is in State Fund. She's actually out of the Reading area. We have Stuart Bennett, who is CalPERS. We have Beth Bartell, who is out of Department of State Hospitals, headquarters actually here in Sacramento. Paul Garong, who is CDTFA. We have Catherine Stockton, who is the California Public Utilities Commission out of San Francisco. We have Carolyn Lewis, who is with DIR out of Southern California. We have Jean Collier, which is Department of Transportation out of Southern California. Karen Duvall, who is a CCRA out of, and she's in CDCR in the Central Valley region. And then we have Mike Ramos, who is from Lottery. And then Sheila Byers, who's from Department of Motor Vehicles. And then, so those are our DBERs that are on our team, but State Fund, our Unit 1 is kind of unique in that we also have classification bargaining unit reps because of how large Unit 1 is. So I'm going to go down that list of folks that we have that are representing the classifications or the CBERs of that. So we have Dolores Bonner, who is from Department of Transportation. She is down south. Kathy Rebald, who is Department of State Hospitals. She's actually a CCRA out of the state hospitals, a small group that we still have. Harry Price at Cal OES here in Sacramento. Myself, State Fund. Joyce Wheeler Owens from EDD. Frank Askin from, he's EDD with CUIAB, which is the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. And we have Vincent Green, who is from Department of Veterans Affairs. And that is the team at the moment. I am the chair. The vice chair for Unit 1 is Mike Ramos, and the alternate vice chair for Unit 1 is Vincent Green. So those are your team, your DBERs and CBERs that probably in the next year or so, you're going to be hearing from, seeing from as we get involved in doing town halls and going out and being in the field with our members, work site meetings, all that kind of stuff. So if you see their names or reach out to them, they're an awesome group of people. I am excited to work with them in the coming contract. And so I just wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to them and people know who they are and who they can reach out to in their areas.
Well, thank you. So I see everybody's on program tonight. We've already got a bunch of hands, so let's get going here. Good evening, Chris. Can you unmute and join us?
Hello, thank you so much for having this open forum. So I have two questions. My first question is the R&R for Bargaining Unit 1. I am a personal specialist. My understanding is that $2,400 is not has not been looked at in many, many years as being increased. There's been a lot of vacancies and people are leaving, where I see people leaving and they're going to higher ranks, and then there's just not enough people to do the jobs that we normally do. So is that on the agenda to be looking at doing that?
We always have discussions with the state in regards to those differentials that are currently there. I think at this point, it's always a possibility. I'm never going to say that it's not something that's not going to be looked at, but it can be brought to the team. Make sure that when you do your surveys and your town halls that you bring that up again. The team will take anything that any of our members bring up under consideration and figure out what is our best path forward and what can we be successful with. So,
and then my second question is that R&R is not included in my retirement. And is that a possibility that you guys could go to the state and say it should be part of their retirement?
So the only way that we can get that to be a part of your retirement is if we were able to roll that into your wages each month. Because it is an R&R differential, it's not subject to PERS. It's not personal.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Those good questions. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
So I have a P. Nikolov. Can you unmute and join us?
Hey, thank you. So my name is Peter. I am AGPA with the HCS. First, just an obvious observation that the telework stipend that we're going to get is highly insufficient. Having in mind what the state saves and what we have to do from home instead. Second, for my work, I travel a lot, and I would like to raise your awareness about the fact that the reimbursement that we have for food, $7 for breakfast, $11 for lunch, $23 for dinner, plus $5 in the incidentals are highly insufficient. So these amounts haven't been changed for decades from what I heard from colleagues, and it is becoming ridiculous having in mind the inflation that we're facing currently. Is there a way that to be looked at with the next bargaining contract?
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Peter, the good questions. Like I said, everything can be looked at. It's in regards to the telework. I think we're going to be having conversations, and I don't know, but I'm confident that we'll be having conversations about telework in 2023. I don't know in what form or format, but in regards to the travel reimbursement and the raises for the dollar amounts for reimbursements for food, that was it's incorrect to say that it's not changed in decades. I can't, if I remember correctly, I don't know if it was 2016, I believe it was raised, and some of the hotel reimbursements for some of the counties were raised. Was it enough? No, probably not. But we were able to make some inroads on that. I know that because of all of the inflation and the fact that COVID and has, when it shut down all the travel and now we have to travel again, that, restaurants and all facets of that kind of travel have increased. Do we think that needs to be a conversation? Yeah. That should be a conversation that we handle at the master table. That won't be something that we handle at our Unit 1 table. So again, that would be something that we brought to the team to look at, and the team will make that decision as to how we proceed with that. But thank you. It's a good question, Peter.
And
if you can find me a place where I can get my breakfast for $7, send me an email.
Right.
Please. Thank you.
No.
That was a joke.
Well, maybe Starbucks. You can get a sandwich and a coffee there, but
I don't think you can do that for $7 even there.
I did it this. Oh.
You did it this morning? I may want to follow your lead.
But I got a very fancy hot chocolate, but I didn't get a coffee.
So Peter, I talked about this. I was traveling for my department, which is Caltrans, back in May, and I was up in Sonoma County, and that's where I was required to be. And as hard as I tried, I couldn't go out and get breakfast for less than like $21, $22. So I'm right there with you. And it's really kind of tough on us when we are traveling on state business and we're so limited. So I had the same complaint. So thanks. Appreciate you reaching out to us.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jeff. Can you join us?
Hi, yes, good evening.
Hi.
Well, I just wanted to confirm, July 1st, we are all getting a 2.5% raise. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And yeah, I'm a steward. I'm with EDD here in Orange County in Buena Park. I work and I live in Orange County, and I just wanted to confirm. I think Orange County was one of 4 counties that was selected for what's called GeoPay, geographic pay. We get an extra like $150 a month because we live in Orange County and our office is in Orange County. So I have a lot of coworkers just emailing asking, will that still continue?
That is in the contract. It should still continue, but we never know what the state's going to come to us with when we go into bargaining. So it's just not us going to the state with our demands as to what we would like to see in a contract. This is contract negotiations. They may come to us with something too. So the goal is and always is to keep what we have in the contract and not give up anything and to add to it. So that's usually the
Okay.
goal for bargaining. So we'll hold
Okay.
on to that as hard as we can. So don't worry.
All right, good. Yeah, I have a
Or
lot
at least I
of
will.
coworkers.
And I know my team will. So
Good. All right, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Good evening, Luke. Can you unmute and join us?
Yeah, yes, I can. Can you hear me now?
We can. Welcome.
Great, great. Well, thank you guys, yeah, for having this forum. I really appreciate the chance to be with you, and I've kind of got a lot of things kind of bottled up that I kind of want to talk about. So I'll get to what I can, and if we need to kind of go offline to talk about some other things, that's great too. But let me just throw a couple things at you. But
so-
just kind of to start. Oh, go ahead.
Give us 2 or 3. There's a
Okay.
long line, and then
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you want, you can jump back in at the end. Okay.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
and
Sounds
it
good.
always, you can reach out to us too. I mean, we're
Yeah,
not here
yeah.
just on a Wednesday night at 6:30. I mean,
Yeah. And that kind of goes into what I want to talk about a little bit too. I have made a few efforts to reach out, and maybe you saw my email, Bill, and also I think Irene and some folks in my DLC 701, and it's just I haven't heard a lot back. So that's kind of why a few things have bottled up. So yeah, let me go into a couple things here. I think it's just important that we really kind of try to put on the front burner focusing on wages. I mean, when you think about inflation and some of the things that so many people are struggling with, especially our lowest wage earners, I think this is something across the board that we know we need to work hard on. That's kind of a high level thing, and I just kind of throw that out as a comment. But and then just the idea of really not taking too much of a defensive stance on things when we're in bargaining and getting more into an offensive stance. I think that there's a lot that we can gain, and I think we just need to have that right mentality that there's so much that we can gain if we really push together, have that solidarity. I mean, the best example of that is that, I mean, we're sitting on that $100 billion surplus with the state right now. I see that in the news regularly. And then we have likely, I mean, Susan, you can probably attest to this. We probably have thousands of employees making less than 40 grand a year. So, I mean, I just think we've gone way too far with people making far too little here in the state. So that's something that I really take as something we really got to push hard on when we're in bargaining. Let's see. Oh, and just the fact that I know kind of the stance that the state's probably going to take is we've been suffering since 2020 or whatever our last contract was. That's going to go through 2023. But I really have this strong idea that when we hit 2023 in our bargaining, we're going to be in a recession. And I've seen a lot of economic indicators of that happening. And then the state's just going to come back and say, oh, no, now you've got to tighten your belt and we can't give you anything. So we really need to have a good understanding of how much we've been suffering through these past 3 years to present to them when we do go to bargaining. Maybe just one more thing I'll just mention about COLA. I've kind of been going back through history a little bit, going back to the 70s. That was a regular part of our contracts. And I think that really needs to be something that we fight hard to get back into our contract, because I think it was kind of wrapped up in the PATCO strike of like the 80s with Reagan, and we lost that. And that was something that was really important and valuable to all our members. So I think that's something we really got to push hard on. I'll kind of leave it there. There's a lot more stuff and other ideas I'd like to share. And I think a lot of that I'd like to try to get into with my DLC too. I'd really like to engage with them more. And unfortunately, other than I think maybe our budget meeting, that's really the only thing I've heard about that they've been doing. I know that's a mandatory based on the policy file, and they've got to do that to make sure that we're thinking about our finances. But beyond that, engagement of within our DLC, I just don't feel is up to where it should be.
So Luke, a couple of things. I work for Caltrans. Susan works for State Comp Insurance Fund, or SCIF. So we both feel your pain. We're both state employees just like you.
Yeah.
And you haven't said anything that I think either one of us could disagree with. Okay.
Mhm.
So with that, a good place for you to start is reach out to your local district bargaining unit rep or your classification CBER.
Mhm.
And if you need some help finding those, reach out to Susan and myself, and we'll work at getting you connected. But that's the lowest common denominator. That's the person that's closest to you. And then, as Susan stated earlier, as we reach out, the local, you know, and a whole reaches out with surveys and questionnaires and you know, different pieces around, you know, your feelings, your thoughts, your ideas around contract, about what are your issues, you know, what would you most like to see? We really want people to participate, and we really encourage engagement, because from my experience, and I know Susan's going to nod her head, the bargaining group looks at every single piece of paper, email, or communications that comes in before, as they're putting their package together to go to the table with the state.
Sure.
So, you know, it's the old story, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So if there isn't enough participation, if people don't tell us the hard truths, and then also, you know, if our members aren't willing to hear the hard truth from us, it makes it hard for us to move forward and get somewhere.
Sure. Yeah. The other thing maybe I'd add too is just it's important to find out what those common denominators are of things that people see as most important for us to push hard on, to make sure that we're together and pushing on those things, rather than seeing, well, there's 10,000 different little ideas that are in different areas, kind of distilling those ideas into a few things that we know we can all kind of push hard on.
So just to acknowledge you, Luke, before we go, I did see your email. I did read it thoroughly. I moved it forward to contracts and the vice president of bargaining, because I felt they were better to take in your information and respond than I was.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I
that
did.
works.
I did see it, and I just want to acknowledge you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah,
Thanks.
and then if there's anything you can do to just kind of maybe push a little bit on the e-board kind of in 701, that would be great too.
All right, Luke, we will reach out and do what we can do.
Great. All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, Luke.
Good evening, Eileen.
Hi, Eileen.
Oh, we can't hear you. Come on, Eileen, where are you?
Hi.
There you are. All right, we can hear you now.
Hey, hi, Susan.
Hi, Eileen.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for giving us the rundown on people who are on your committee for. But do you still have the alternates? I didn't hear any alternates.
Oh, I didn't name the alternates. You want me to go? I can go through and name the alternates. I don't know. It'll be a test for me as to what departments they are in, but I can go ahead and name the alternates. So our alternates to the bunk. So these are the folks that are, you know, are going to be ready to go if something happens with the folks that I had mentioned earlier. So we have Polly Coughlin, if I pronounced her last name right. She'll let me know if I didn't. We have Valerie Brooks. We have Denise Quinn Allen, Angela Williams, Cheryl Butters, Ricky Bradley, or she goes by Erica. Some people may know her, but we call her Ricky Bradley. And then Sean Harrison, and Kristen Harrington, and Lynn Mosley, and Eddie Isaacs. So, and we do have some vacancies in our alter positions because we don't have all of our CBER positions filled. And so I'm kind of working on that to move forward. But yeah, but thank you, Eileen.
You're welcome. Thank you. So the CBER positions, they would have to be a bargaining unit 1 to be considered for the.
Right.
Okay.
Unit 1 is the only unit that has classification bargaining unit reps. This was created, was it back in 2008? Do you remember?
2006, I think.
2006.
2006, 2008, something like that.
So the bargaining team for Unit 1 used to only be 10 people. And to represent that many folks at the bargaining table, it just wasn't enough. So I don't know. I wasn't a steward yet then. They created this position. Oh, you can try to, yeah.
I was the first CBER elected to the research and communications classification for Northern California. It was an attempt to broaden the representation at the table. It was an attempt to make sure there was enough people to do all the work that needed to be done for Unit 1. And it was an attempt to bring more voices into the room so that classifications weren't necessarily left out of the mix, because through the election process, it could end up with a very narrow classification band actually on the bargaining team. So that was the thinking and the impetus behind bringing that out about in Unit 1. And there was a whole election for it.
What about the other bargaining units? If they wanted to change their classifications, they don't have anything like that for bargaining unit 4, 15, 21, anybody else? Only unit 1?
Only Unit 1 has CBERS. I don't know I don't know if that's viable or not, because a lot of the other units are more specific.
They don't have as many
Yeah,
classifications.
they're
they
more
represent.
specific. Unit 1 kind of is like we represent a wide range and a diverse range of classifications. When you come to Unit 17, it's nursing classifications, right? When you go to Unit 15, it's your custodians and your cooks. So it's very narrow.
Has a multitude of different classifications.
Yeah. And I don't know why I don't know. I wasn't involved with why they picked why Unit 1. I mean, Unit 1 was just very large.
It
It's
was
just very
driven by
large.
Unit 1.
I think it's driven by Unit
It was
1. It's also
driven by
driven by
Unit
how many
1.
numbers or members are in the unit.
Right, but it was the Unit 1 bargaining group at the time who was trying to figure out how to expand the representation at the table and include a voice for more people and more diverse classifications, and make sure that everybody within the unit was being represented. There was a lot of complaints that my group didn't have a voice at the table, right? My research people didn't have a voice at the table, or, analysts didn't have a proper voice at the table. So it was an attempt to deal with those issues. And this goes back into, around the 2006 contract cycle.
Okay, well, I'm not unit 1, I'm unit 4, and that's concerning. But what I called for was mostly on the closures of the prisons. Do you know how many prisons are closing and what is going to happen to these people?
We have not received, are you talking about what was in the May revise, or, because at this point, we haven't received any notice in regards to closing of prisons. The only one that we know of right now is the DJJ closure that will be happening in June, by closure of June of 2023. So we haven't even hit the layoff process in that yet.
Okay, and then the people who were getting laid off, they'll go on SROA and hopefully find jobs in other.
So usually what CDCR and CCHCS has been doing with these prison closure, because we had in Tracy, there was a prison closure last year, is that they do what's called a voluntary transfer program first. So they give every opportunity for those folks that are impacted by this closure to make a decision that's best for their family and for themselves, to figure out if they need to find a job, if they want to transfer to another prison within the state of California or another job. And so they go through that voluntary transfer program. And so they kind of, and people take that, they take advantage of that. And then if they get to a point where they need to do a layoff, if not, they haven't found a spot for everybody. So CDCR kind of hold positions for when they know they have a closure coming up, to make sure everybody's able to land somewhere. And then I think in the Tracy one, I think we only had, I don't have the exact number, but I would say it was less than 10, and I'm sure Brooke will text me if I'm wrong, or Eloise will, that actually were impacted, who took the SROA letter. And usually when you are laid off from your job, you are on a reemployment list for 5 years. So if something were to come up, if your classification, you're going to get a notice from the state of California saying this has come up here. would you like it, or or do you want to decline it? So, so there's that options too.
With the same type of programming, I may be saying the wrong word, happen to these people as did with the toll workers, how they were able to do online?
Well, that didn't involve unit 1, so I don't know the specifics, what happened with that negotiations with the toll workers. That's a unit 4 issue, and that was handled by Karen Jeffries and her team of folks for that, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
Eileen.
Have a great evening. Thank you. Good evening, Lisa. Can you unmute and join us?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So I'm just following up on a couple of other topics that were brought up earlier by some other team members here, in particular GeoPay and COLA adjustments. So when you were talking about Unit 1 and creating that new classification to represent researchers and analysts, which were poorly represented before that in Unit 1, and the pay parity for like or similar work throughout the state was very low. And so they finally got caught up with that effort and created that new classification. And in that period, it was discussed an effort to create a task force. My question is more like, what if that effort continued, or what happened with that, to continue to monitor GeoPay, COLA, and in particular pay parity for like work throughout the state with, impacts. I think COLA and GeoPay probably impact folks more broadly. The pay parity is more specific to the research analysts that are lumped into Unit 1, which weren't being adequately represented before they created the special classification. So my question is, what is going on with that? We haven't heard about that since we were successful in getting that pay parity for those positions. I haven't heard anything about that continuing, or can you give an update?
So I'm not quite sure I understand what classification was created that you're talking about. If you're talking about the classification bargaining unit representatives, that's in SEIU Local 1000. Those aren't state jobs. So those are folks that are.
That's what I meant. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So that's separate. Those are just like a district bargaining unit rep. They're just classification bargaining reps. So there was no classification created in state service for that. So we currently have some classification bargaining unit rep openings in our CBER. The research and communications classifications are a very small group of Unit 1. If I have it here, they encompass about, I want to say, I don't have the complete number. I want to say maybe about 2,000 of the 56,000 workers that Unit 1 represents. So they're very small group of folks. And so, if you're
Which is why they needed a voice.
Which is why they needed a voice, right, right. But Bill's here, in the DLC president capacity and not as a CBER capacity. But
Actually, I'm board chair.
you're board chair too, I know. But you're also DLC president. And so and then GeoPay, we still have that report. And so information in that report is still good for us as we go into negotiations for 2023. So I don't know if you have a particular question in regards to retention and recruitment or pay parity for a specific classification in state service. You can always reach out to me. You can call the Member Resource Center. They know how to get a hold of me. In regards to, you can email me at srodriguez@seiu1000.org. And we can talk about that. But is there a specific classification in state service that you have a question about?
No, thank you for clarifying. I wasn't explaining it accurately. So, but with your classification, if I could just restate my question, it was more related to the creation of I think they called it a task force. This was several years ago now. So
Yeah, the
I
GeoPay
don't
task
recall.
force.
I'm sorry, repeat that, please.
The GeoPay task force.
Okay,
So there
right.
was,
GeoPay.
yes. Yeah.
So was that created, and just wondering like what status that's in?
So that was created, and they came up with a report, and that we used in 2019 to help us get the GeoPay that is in the contract now
Got
for
it.
those counties. So at this point, that team no longer meets. They accomplished what they were to accomplish, which was to create a report. And so now we have that report that helps us. I think there was 4 or 5 different areas they looked at that helps us frame our discussions, and in regard, will we talk to the state on certain things like healthcare, telework, the GeoPay, and those kind of things.
Got it. Thank you. And so
welcome.
is that report available for members to see?
It-
And also, are there plans to continue a similar task force that could probably be more proactive about the GeoPay? That's not something that goes away, just because you have
Right.
one report. And then COLA as well as pay parity. There's those 3 things that I think affect all of our pay. And the pay parity may be more for those 2,000 folks that tend to get, drop in pay compared to similar work.
So the GeoPay report did live on the SEIU 1000 website. I'm not sure if it's still there, but I would just, in the search function, probably put GeoPay and see if a report comes up. Oh, I'd have to double check on that to see if it's still available online. But we did post it I wasn't part of that GeoPay task force. It's considered a master table language, so it was handled differently in contracts. So, but it did live on the SEIU webpage, and it should still be there. I just don't know where it would be at this point.
Okay, I'll search. And then just my last question that I already asked, do you know if there are thoughts about having an ongoing task force or trying to be more proactive about things?
As far as I know at this point, no. So, but it's a good idea. And I think that with telework though, I think it kind of adds a different element to it. So I think it's going to be very interesting as we go in regards to GeoPay and telework and all those kind of things. So.
Okay, well, I would just like to end. Thank you for your feedback. I would just request or suggest to put on the table creating some sort of semi-permanent task force to kind of look at all 3 of those issues. You've got a lot of analysts, I'm sure, that would be happy to volunteer to provide.
Yes, always.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. And, just a quick word, and Irene's not here tonight, VP of Bargaining, right? Irene Green. Brooke, our contracts department head, isn't here tonight. But there are discussions amongst everybody as to how we do this bargaining cycle different than we've ever done before. And the reason for that is because we're looking at how we can be more successful than we were in the past. So, there's no reason we should repeat the last bargaining cycle with the state the way the state is used to. Perhaps it's time to do something different so we can be more effective.
I agree. And I just echo what Luke said earlier. If we could think of ways to be proactive without waiting till the fire drill is going off, and maybe having an ongoing task force is one potential way. There's probably many others that we can put in place, then we can do what you're saying. So that would be wonderful.
Yeah, just keep in mind, it's a 2-way street. The state's got to agree to it as well. So we can ask for it. It doesn't mean that they're going to agree from their side.
Right.
Hey,
So
thanks.
they could disagree with the task force, is what you're saying? They could. So we
Yes.
can't do that independently on our own if we wanted to add more information into the discussion. They would actually prevent that.
Well, actually, no, that's not quite accurate. So can we create a joint task force on our own? The answer to that is no. However, from my experience with the bargaining teams over the years, and even what I see currently, the work that we've asked research to do and will continue to expand upon, we present the best data to support our requests that we can report, that we can present to the state. It's not like we're not doing our homework. It's not like we're not making the ask. It's not, I mean, quite frankly, look, straight up, we're running what, close to 9% inflation. I talked to someone last night who is taking money out of their savings account to buy food now because they just can't make ends meet with rent and food prices and transportation prices in Oakland. So this is real. There's a giant surplus, and our political body that is in control of our wages and working conditions apparently doesn't see it as a problem, or doesn't see that they have any cause to make us whole or improve our lives. So
I agree with you. I
that's-
think you guys are doing the best that you can, given the circumstances, with providing quality information, for sure. My thinking is, if there was a group of people that wanted to volunteer to gather data that can be independently verified to help promote that information, I don't think the state could prevent us from doing that. I think I'm going to get cut off. But that's
No, I got you. No, he wanted to make sure that I.
the button.
He wants to make sure that I write that down. And I said I showed him that I already did. So you've got you, Lisa.
The button's actually over here. I
have no buttons.
I try not to cut people off.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you writing it down, and I'll shut up now. Thank you.
So hey, thanks for calling in and being part of the discussion.
Thank you.
Good evening, David. Can you unmute and join us?
Sure, thank you. So just a few things, maybe suggestions. So I know you, Bill, and Susan can tell me what all the terms and everything mean, but can we put this on our website? DBER, CBER, bunk chair, alt chair, and maybe what their roles do. So in that way we know all the members. What's that?
You want to be able to decode all the what do we call those?
Acronyms. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to decode all the acronyms, right?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So, and I know between the both of you, you can tell me what each and every acronym stands for, but
right. Bill and I have worked together a long time.
Right. So, but if we have new members or anything like that,
right.
and if they have an interest, obviously, in stewardship and going further, we can point them to that and say, hey, a DBER does this, a CBER does this. Did you know that? Bunk chair does this. So that would be helpful, I think, in the future to maybe put that on a website, on our website. And then I know Susan went through her team of the bargaining team and where they work, what their names are. Is it possible that we can also see kind of what the experience they have in and how? I know Susan touched on her experience with bargaining, but about everyone else's bargaining experience that can be explained and maybe just shown off, if you will, to all our members. That would be great. And then I know Bill touched upon it a little bit, but can we provide lessons learned about what we did right and what we did wrong in past bargaining cycles? So
David,
yes,
David, because we don't have control of the call, we're not going to go into lessons learned on an open call.
Right.
No, but previous ones.
But even previous ones. Think about the advantage that might give the state.
So why can't we just not give away our hand and tell everything the state did?
Well, how about we're working on improving our website. There's going to be some firewalls where we can put information that only members can get access to. It's a
Okay.
work in progress. I'm not going to promise a completion. I can tell you that I talked with one of the people face to face who is going to be working on the improvements today.
Oh, good.
So we are a work in progress. And if you come on the call, or if you have listened to me in the past, one of the things you'll hear me say is, you know, words are cheap, watch what we're doing. And, you know, I think you've got some great points. If you're not used to the acronyms, the first time you go to one of these meetings, you're completely lost. I know I have been at times. So, you know, I certainly appreciate that as well.
Do you have the what? Oh, yeah, acronyms on.
They're
the
on
site.
there now.
Oh, yeah, we just got told that they're on the site.
So
And also
Okay.
the names of the teams, if you go to like, there's Unit 1, Unit 4, Unit 15, and there's the names of the bargaining team. And some, I can, you know, our team right now is a mix. We've got a few new folks to bargaining, which we always want to have new folks into bargaining so we can kind of, as people attrition out and retire out actually, and or promote up to management, you always want to make sure you have, you're teaching new folks about bargaining and have a good mix. So we have a good mix
Absolutely.
of experienced members on the team who have, I mean, we have one member on the team that's had way more contract experience than I have. And then, or actually a few of them. And we have some that this will be their first time bargaining and they learn, but you know, it's about what they can bring to the table. It's not about what experience you have as in bargaining. I mean, it's a good mix of everything. And like I said, you know, if you want to have conversations about the team moving forward, or if you're interested in any type of a district bargaining unit rep position, which is out of your DLC, or a classification bargaining unit rep position, which is something that's through Unit 1, I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. So.
Great. And then one last question, if I may. So you mentioned upon the DLC. Does each DLC have a regularly scheduled meeting with their members in the DLC in their DLC, or is that just up to the?
They're
president?
supposed to have a minimum of one quarterly.
Okay.
And that's up to your DLC president, and that would be the person to reach out to and start with.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you, David. So
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Before I move on real quick, I just also want to reinforce that all of the so, you know, Susan's here, she's a member, the whole bargaining team are members, just like you and I, is completely supported by a staff of professionals. So Brooke Pierman, she's been on here before. She's an attorney, licensed in the state of California and Nevada. She has bargained all kinds of contracts and is extremely effective in working for and with our bargaining teams and our VP of bargaining. We have a staff that supports the whole contracts department. We just recently hired Samuel Rice, who has a bunch of experience and has some great ideas and really excited to be with us and is a great addition to the contracts department. So I think the contracts department is pretty close to fully staffed as we move forward. And it's a big process for Local 1000. And with that, I'm going to move on. So this is a brain test. Is it Jeff? Do I remember correctly?
Close. It's Ted.
Ted. Yeah, Ted's not too close to Jeff. I'm sorry, Ted.
It's still one syllable. It's still one syllable. Trust me, that's better than a lot of people. Yeah, I'm a senior librarian, Ted Bloom. I'm from California State Prison at Los Angeles County. That's in Lancaster. We're the only state prison in the county of Los Angeles. So we're used to getting a lot of attention. And it's funny, as I was listening to this Zoom edition of, I guess it's called Straight Talk, right? Straight Talk Unfold. That's exactly what I wanted to present today, is some straight talk, hard truths, being proactive, whatever. I'm also a union steward, so this probably applies to a lot of us. You can say the biota exhibited a 100% mortality rate, or you can say all the fish died. They both mean exactly the same thing. So if you can make it shorter, you can make it better. And that's one of the premises of this book. This book is called The Elements of Style by Strunk and White. That's a combination of a college professor and a high school English teacher. It's, again, a very thin book. It's not expensive, and this will make you sound better and write better. It's got all kinds of grammatical tips on how to properly conjugate verbs. It's got tips for writing concisely, writing with proper style. It goes into the proper way to form possessives. So this way, SEIU will automatically sound more professional and will communicate better. And it's not that difficult to do. It really isn't, as far as that goes. So I made a transition from being a teacher to a librarian. When I used to teach public speaking, and that's one of the books I would stress in my class. And just so you don't think that I'm a hypocrite, I actually have a book out. I have a book published on Amazon called The Librarian's Guide to Employment in the Information Age. And there you have a picture of the Library of Congress, because it doesn't cost anything to take government pictures and publish them, because I'm frugal. So anyway, I figure I would mention that because I had good results with the last books that I mentioned, How to Lie with Statistics and The History of Labor Strike, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you very, very much for your time, and keep up the good work.
Ted, we appreciate you coming and educating us every week. I'm a visual creative. I actually have that book sitting on my shelf at home, and I can assure you that it's done me no good, because my brain doesn't work that way, no matter how hard I've tried.
Well, this book I keep in my desk. I keep it in my desk at work. And I do refer to it because there are some instances here where this will really make a difference. Like, for example, creating possessives. A lot of people don't realize there are different rules depending on the possessives.
There are. And maybe that's a tip I should take. Maybe I need to use it as a reference guide. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, Ted.
Yes, you're welcome.
Hi, John. Can you unmute and join us?
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Bill, good to see you both. Thank you for all that you do and are doing. I want to say I really appreciate the democratic nature and the open nature of these meetings that I've only recently started participating in. It's really great to see that I see this as a hallmark of a democratic union. So thank you again. So taking a leaf out of Ted's comment, I'm going to say something.
Now we're in trouble.
Yeah, I know.
Hi.
All right, go for it, John.
My name is John, and I am a wage slave and a debt peon. Now you're supposed to say hi, John, like we're in some kind of 12-step program, okay?
Okay. I don't know if we can follow that.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a wage slave and a debt peon. Go.
Hi, John.
Thank you. Okay. I say that because I take the view that everything bargaining does, and kudos to all of you for all that you do, is kind of playing an inside game from a position of relative weakness. We have, as I understand it, moved down from 60% to 53% union density. And that means that that's the first thing the states looks at when we bring proposals to them. So I encourage others to do this if you're in a position to do so, have started saving money so that I can be in a position to have a strike fund. And I want to encourage others to do that, because what will move bargaining forward, and there are steps we need to accomplish before we get to that point, obviously, is the credible threat of a strike. We have, as Bill said, 9% inflation-ish, and we have to get our membership up to a credible number so that we're actually in position to make a credible threat of strike. We are 100,000 or so workers in the world's 5th largest economy. If we're organized enough to go out for 1 hour or 1 day, I think the tone on the other side will change. So that's what I have to say. And I remain humbly a wage slave and a debt peon.
Well, thank you, John, and I think everybody in this room is a wage slave, right there with you. But you gave me a great opening. So we are, so when I was elected and came on as chair was March 5th. On March 6th, I spent all day Sunday working to deal with the crisis of occupying our buildings. By Tuesday, I realized that I needed to focus on staff. By Thursday, I realized that the second thing that had to be focused on was membership. So since March 7th or 8th, we've been working with the International, asking for assistance, which they are bringing us, to deal with increasing our membership. So as of today, some people may recognize these men, some may not. We have Eliseo Medina, who worked with Cesar Chavez on the Farm Workers Union, with us as an advisor. We have Scott Washburn, working as working at the director's level over a strategic campaign arm that we're building. We have 3 staff people, 1 with Local 1000, 2 on loan from the International. 1 is Stacy, which people may remember. She came back to us for 6 months from Together We Rise. We have Ajamu Umi, who took a position to be at the assistant director's level of this overall program from our local. We're hiring 6 staff in Sacramento to go out and work solely on membership NEO program. The International is bringing in 6 more down in Southern California because that was where it was easiest for them to provide us support. So this is about $1 million worth of resources to us over the next 6 months. Today, we set a membership goal to reach by January 31st of 2023 as we go into contract. I'm not going to share what that goal is right now because I'm not sure it's been finalized with the group. However, what I do want to say is that as an organization, we need to come together with one vision, one goal, and the vision is today to improve membership so that we can have a better contract, and the goal is to improve everybody's life. I don't want to hear from another legal secretary that she's got to take money out of her savings to buy food for herself and her daughter because there's not enough money left over at the end of the month from her paycheck because of the cost of living in Oakland, okay? I don't want to talk to another person that we represent who's living in their car. I mean, state employment should be a living wage. If you're living in your car, I would argue that it's not a living wage. It should be a pretty easy argument. So I appreciate it, John, and I want to assure you that you're on the list of people to be asked to step up and do some additional work. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Good evening, Christy. Can you join us?
Good evening. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I just wanted to know, and somebody may have brought it up before, but the stipends for Unit 1 and 4 and the others, I wanted to know if it had been, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for them to, because it was passed, but it has to be, what's that next step?
Are you talking about the telework stipend?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to
Go ahead.
reannounce
You
that?
want me to do it? I'll go for it. So it's in the, we made our agreement. We did our part of the work. It's in the state hands. So once we signed the agreement, it had to become a bill. The bill is AB 196. It is currently with the legislature. It is not a bill that has been passed by the legislature. It has not gone to the governor's desk. So with that said, I think a reasonable expectation is to not expect to receive a check until the end of August or the beginning of September.
Okay.
This is on the state side. However, the telework agreement is retroactive to January 1.
Right.
So you should get a reasonably sizable check when you get your first check.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to check that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Good evening, Mario. I see you're shaking your head no, so I guess you disagree with me again.
Thanks for taking my phone call, and I really don't need that bill. Thank you. That doesn't build unity that way. But anyway, I do have a question, Susan, and that's this. Well, a lot of deep classes were, I would say, shrunk to one classification. Now, there's many, I can give you many examples, but I'll give you one. Safety specialist actually was a deep class with 6 different steps. And it actually was a professional class within Caltrans, just for an example. And it required education and experience. Now, the top step was actually, I think, 20% more than, well, yeah, it was higher, okay? But then it changed to AGPA, government program analyst. Well, the beginning step, of course, is higher, but the problem is the top step is lower than even the top, I think it's step D or something. I forgot what the classification is right now, but that's just one example. And this is a kind of a problem because one, recruitment is very difficult because a D class people would actually stay in that position for a period of time, develop the skills necessary to become a professional safety specialist. Now with AGPAs, all you need is a college degree, and respectfully, you pass an exam that's quite, I don't know, it's not very substantial. It's basically a training and an education, subjective examination. So you get a lot of people who are actually not qualified in that class. That's just one example. So can we go back to the deep classes that were there? I mean, that could help a lot in far as getting a living wage just by going back to the old classifications. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. So I don't know. I can't answer that for you right now, Mario. I'd have to look at the safety specialists in Caltrans to see where that falls and when they got moved over to AGPAs. So I can't answer if we can go back at this point. That was not something that was, I have worked on or dealt with in the last 4 years as chair of Unit 1. So I'd have to do some research on that.
Well, there are other classifications within. That's just one of many. Visual operator, for example. There were other classifications that were deep classes, but they were, I don't know what the word is.
It's just a question. I'd have to do research on it. I would need specifics on certain classifications to be able to answer your question, Mario.
Okay, that's not really good enough, but okay.
That's fine.
All right, thanks, Mario.
It's not.
Appreci-
It's not. It's
appreci-
very, you should know it respectfully.
Appreciate you calling in, Mario. Thanks.
Thanks, Mario.
Good evening, Lisa. Can you unmute and join us? Lisa, can you unmute and join us?
Chairman Hall, I think you unmuted me.
Well, I can mute you again, Brian.
Of course. No worries. I have no problem with that. I just want to let you know, I don't think you unmuted Lisa, or you unmuted both of us.
I was trying to unmute Lisa and she got moved over, but we'll come back in a second. Hi, Lisa, can you unmute and join us?
Hi
There you are.
there. Sorry it took me a second.
That's okay. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I wanted to ask about long-term care insurance. I know that it used to be available, and when I go to the CalPERS website, it says that it's not available right now. Is there any plans to bring it back when I get, no?
Probably not.
Oh, that's so sad.
So Lisa, that's a CalPERS issue. You could reach out to one of our members who is the CalPERS president, Teresa Taylor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she can explain it better than I can. And if you need her contact information, email me at bhall@seiu1000.org.
Thank you so much.
And I will get it to you. The short version is the program that was put together was priced in a way that it was unsustainable. And as a result, that my understanding is that caused some complications in being able to continue the program.
Oh, well, hopefully they'll bring back some sort of a program.
Well, like I said, if you want to connect with Teresa, who can really go through it with you way better than I can, reach out to me and I'll get you connected with her.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too. All right, Brian, it's your turn. Can you unmute and join us?
Yes, thank you so much this evening. I just have a quick question about the DMV, specifically with the driver safety. Apparently, it's been put out that we're going back to our old ways, and we don't really know how that's going to happen yet, but apparently we're going back to what we were doing before. So I don't know if they've notified you or what the next steps are with that process.
I'd have to look. I worked my state job Monday and Tuesday, and today I had a bunch of meetings, so I haven't had a chance to look at my notices that have come in since Friday of last week. But I haven't gotten anything indicating to me that it's going to go back. But I mean, that was a possibility. I know when we had discussions with the department, the team did. But I'd have to follow back up with you, Brian, on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling in. Good evening, Vincent. Can you unmute and join us?
Hey, Bill. Hey, Susan. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So listen, just a couple things. I hope you just bear with me. First of all, I just want to give a little bit of an update on the IT. There are unconfirmed reports that they are moving along the process to making sure that IT is basically made whole from a couple years ago. So we want to, I'll try to verify that by next week so that we can do it. But I know that I've had several phone calls and I promised I would address it when I got a chance. So I fulfilled my promise. Okay.
All right.
Second thing is this is pointed to both John and Mario. To Mario's point, Mario, if you want to give me a call, we can talk a little bit more about deep classes because IT just went through that a few years ago. So I am intimately involved and I know exactly what you're talking about. And we can have a decent conversation about what's going on, why it happened, and what might be some next steps that if Local 1000 chose to take, they could possibly take. Okay, you can call the MRC, they will put you through to me, and I would love to have that conversation with you. Okay, Third point, and this goes to both Bill and Susan, and this is in regards to bargaining. I think that, Bill, if I can respectfully suggest that we might want to start doing some really basic training on what the steps are for bargaining before the table. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because there are several steps that has to happen before we even get to the table. And I'm not talking about the surveys. I'm not talking about the meetings that need to happen, the town hall meetings, anything like that. I'm talking blank processes that have to happen. The first one is the December, put out of what the budget is going to be for next year. Because I hear a lot of people talk about $100 billion, but that might not be the case next year when the budget comes out. And I think that's a misnomer for everyone. We have to look at what the budget is going to call for, and then how we can actually, for lack of a better term, exploit that. Okay, work with that. Have us get what we are due, for when we come to bargaining. So if we could actually put out something, or just 10 steps of how bargaining happens before we even get to the table, that might open the members' eyes on exactly what you, Bill, have to go through when you're at the master table, if you're at the master table, what the statewide officers have to do when they get to the master table, and then what my chair of Unit 1 has to do when she gets to the unit table itself.
So,
does that make sense?
So Vincent, I really appreciate that. I think you just made a recommendation for a lot of work for yourself.
You know what? I am not above working hard.
I know you're not.
Especially if it's for the members to get a little bit more enlightened or have a little bit more information of what goes on. Because I truly believe that, if information is power. You have, the more powerful we can become.
You and I have had these discussions, and yes. I'm pretty sure we're in agreement. Yes.
We can work on that, Bill.
What you've laid out is another job, right? It's another task,
We can talk about that and how to basically deal with that task as it comes up to September, October, November, and December.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I do think that more education around all the steps is needed, and reach out to me. You know how to get a hold of me. Reach out to me, and let me know what you need to help produce that.
I will. But that's all. That's all I really wanted to say. We just got to get the information out there, and that way people will feel a little bit better. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, Vincent. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Vincent.
Hi, Dwayne. Can you unmute and join us?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I think Vincent's idea is a very, very good strategy for boosting membership. To the extent you get information out to people in that form, folks will understand how important membership is to improving the bargaining stance of the local in the current contract negotiation. Secondly, I want to agree with Luke Cerna's position that there really is a need to be a lot more aggressive at an earlier stage in the bargaining process, because if you don't shoot high, you're not going to end up anywhere within a reasonable range. And I understand your point about it takes two to tango, Bill. However, and yet, you can't do anything without the state. But I think the operative position, I hear you saying you have to ask for it. I think there should be a position and a mindset that one must demand that. You don't ask, you demand it, and you bargain for it, and you work out something that's acceptable. So I think that's I agree in that sense with Luke Cerna's position that there has to be a much more aggressive mental approach to this. Now, I don't know, I came on the call late. I don't know if telework and the future of telework was addressed or not. Has it been addressed? And what is the future of that?
In what regards, the future of telework?
Whether or not telework is going to be extended, if there's been any negotiation about the state's plans to reduce telework hours, so on and so forth. There's some agencies that are working 100% telework, some are working less. I'm wondering if that's in any, if there, what the update is as to that, if there's any news about teleworking.
So at this point, all departments are supposed to, by October 1st, develop a telework policy for the departments. We've received quite a few. I don't know how many we've received thus far as they implement their telework policy. We are, as they do update their telework policies or have their new policies, we get noticed and we look at it and just and hear back from members. Yes, you are right. There are some departments that have full telework, and there's other departments that make the determination that no, they can't do that at this point. I do think that telework as a whole is going to be changing as we get into this and as departments see how it works being at home versus coming in the office. And I think COVID still has an impact on it. You know, I think COVID's here to stay for a little bit longer, and departments are always changing their mind if they need to have people out on telework longer or not. So it's ever changing. Do I think that we're going to be talking about telework and how it looks in 2023 in our 2023 negotiations? Yes. And because I think it's going to change again. So I think it's still kind of, it hasn't settled out yet.
Okay, well, thank you. As these proposals come in on October 1st, are they going to be disseminated to the bargaining unit members so that we can comment, chime in on it, or how's that going to be managed? And are they going to be negotiated?
So usually so if you go to the CalHR website, you can find the DGS model policy, and all the departments are supposed to be modeling their policies after that. So you can take a look at that, see what it says at this point. And then they adapt their policies. They have to have the minimum of that at this point. And then, yes, usually when I get something from a department, I usually reach out to my district bargaining, first my bargaining team, then my district bargaining reps or classification bargaining reps and stewards that are in that work site. I'll reach out to them, make a phone call. We only have a limited amount of time to make a response back to the department. Once they notice us, it's usually 30 days before implementation of that policy. So, you know, I usually reach out either by phone call or email. And then wait, if I don't get any response, I have to make a determination and review it myself. Or, you know, the folks do give me updates as either what their concerns or questions are. And then we ask the department, and there's times where we elevate it to a meet and confer.
So you said you pass on the information to the bargaining reps in the various.
Dwayne, what department are you in?
PUC. So you pass it on to the various bargaining reps. And
right.
Are they under instruction to disseminate that information to members within the rep, or did they simply make the determination about what the response is themselves? Or
So
how does that work? Is there a
I leave it up.
strategy for that?
I leave it up to them to how they want to review that. So right now, I lean on Lynn Mosley and Catherine Stockton, who work out of CPUC. One's an IT person, and one's she's a public utilities analyst. And they look at it and they make they look at it and give me recommendations.
So there's no protocol that they should go to the membership and get feedback from the membership before they respond within this 30-day period? Is that what I'm to understand?
No. So like I said, you can go on the CalHR web.
So no, meaning that there is no protocol.
There's no protocol, no.
So Dwayne, what it would be good for you to do, as I listen to your concern, would be to reach out. Like, I know Lynn Mosley personally. She's in IT, very involved in the union for a very long time. Reach out to Lynn, or what was the other gal?
Catherine Stockton.
Catherine. And reach out to them and form a relationship with them so that you can get your questions answered and have your input one-on-one. It's a great way.
That's fine for me, but what about the rest of the people in the bargaining unit?
Well, we encourage everybody to reach out and be involved. I mean, this
But I
is,
mean, in terms of disseminating the information about the proposal to members in the bargaining unit, letting them chime in as to what they report back to you about the sentiment of the bargaining unit. It seems to me there should be a protocol for that. But anyway, I'll move on. You mentioned that there's something about a stipend. What are the details about the stipend that folks should expect retroactive to January, for example, as to telework?
So in the telework agreement, or if you sign a telework agreement, if you are considered a remote centered employee, you'll receive a $50 stipend a month. If you are considered office centered, and then you'll receive $25. So remote center means that you work 50% or more of the time at home, and that your main workstation or is at home. And then if you're office centered, you work 50% or more time in the office. So it's the reverse.
So that's something new that we can expect. It's not something in addition to whatever might have been received at this point then, right?
That is new. So as Bill had stated earlier, it's SB or AB 196 right now. And it's in the process of being what we call ratified by the legislature, our agreement, just like our contract agreement is ratified by the legislature. And so once all of that gets done, then they can issue a pay letter to the departments, and the departments then can issue
Got
those
it,
checks
okay.
to us.
All right, thanks. I won't take up any more of your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dwayne. Come back and visit us again. Good evening, Frank. Can you unmute and join us?
Good evening, Chair Hall, and good evening, Susan. Thank you for that beautiful intro. My name is Frank Askin. I work for the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. I am a first-time Unit 1 IT CBER. Just to put my information out there in case any members have any questions that they would like to reach out to me. My email is frank.askin.steward.dlc787@gmail.com. And I'd just like to uplift Brother Ted Bloom for the book that he was showing on last night's call, How to Lie with Statistics. That is a very great book. I downloaded it on Audible, and I am currently listening to it. So that is a great book. And I thank you guys very much, and have a great evening.
Well, thanks, Frank. You have a great evening too. I have Johnson's iPhone next. Can you unmute and join us?
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi. This is my first time. I work with Cal Recycle. We just received our expectation for telework, and so hearing that the departments and the union will have a chance to negotiate that, I would like to point out some things to, I guess, my rep regarding that. So just need to know who to reach out to voice my concerns with the expectation for the telework.
So you got an expectations memo, or you got the telework policy and signing the agreement?
We got an expectations memo.
Okay, I don't recall.
So Johnson, that doesn't sound right to us. And if that's the case, if you could email a copy of that through the MRC to Susan so she could look at it, that might be a help. You're supposed to simply get a telework agreement along with a copy of the policy. And then if your agreement or your request for telework is denied, you have a grievable process there.
Okay, we are supposed to sign the expectation memo. I'm not too sure if that's how they're calling the policy or not, but let me write down the contact person who I should email it to. You said, sorry, go for it.
You can email it to me. It's srodriguez@scI1000.org.
Rodriguez, is it Rodriguez?
Yep.
At SEIU Local 1000.
And it really,
it's 1000.org.
Yeah, .org. It really helps us when we can see the actual document.
Okay.
To help make sense out of it for you.
I have other questions that I'm hoping you can address here or later meeting. My first one is related to Juneteenth. I know the legislature is working on a bill to make it a holiday. It's not going to be a paid holiday. Maybe in a future negotiation with the state, another year or so, we can make that a paid state holiday. That's
No argument for me.
my next concern I want to bring. I know the state legislature, at least the assembly, they get paid by bi-weekly. Is there a way we can negotiate that for state employees instead of getting paid once a month? I think that would also help with people not having to stretch their budget for the full month. Being paid twice a month would definitely be beneficial to everyone.
It's an issue that's come up in the past. Right now, the state of California has a very antiquated pay system, and trying to switch to a bi-weekly system would probably break it. I do know that the state of California is looking at how to change their payroll system. I just don't know what it looks like yet.
I was gonna say, do you know if there's a difference? Because I think we both get paid by the controller's office. So how the assembly is able to do it bi-weekly, and
I don't.
we're only
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is, to be honest. That's.
okay. And then
I don't know if I want to know the payroll system at this point.
There's some other payroll systems within the state, Johnson, that pay bi-weekly. Caltrans maintenance workers get paid bi-weekly. So we don't know what the whole issue is. I have heard in the past that they cannot do it for us. I don't think it's they can't. I think it's they won't. I would be willing to guess that we'd have to go in and try to change the California code. So we would have to work with the assembly and have a bill that would say we get paid bi-weekly.
Okay. And my last question, I'm not sure if this is something that's bargained with the union, but like things from borrowing from your Savings Plus loan and CalPERS to like first-time home buyers who need to do down payments. I understand right now CalPERS don't allow that in certain, you have to have a certain amount in your Savings Plus loan. Is that something we can negotiate in future to allow more state employees to have the funds to purchase a home by borrowing from this account that they're putting in and saving?
I don't know. That's an idea we'd have to ask Teresa.
Okay.
I don't know if that's something that we can
So
touch.
I appreciate that thought.
Yeah.
What I would say is put that in writing and email it to Susan in a clear, concise sentence or two. So that's something that we can research and actually respond to.
Okay. And just to make sure I have it is srodriguez@seiulocal1000.org.
SEIU1000.org.
Okay, not local 1000. Okay, perfect.
Well, thank you for calling, and come on back and join us again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Good evening, Chantel. Can you unmute and join us?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I had a couple of questions. I did kind of miss some of the questions that may have been asked, so forgive me if I'm asking the question again. But I heard that teleworkers were going to be getting the payments, and it's going to be $50 if you're 100% at home or 50% at home. But is that $50 a month, $50 a week, $50? How often?
It's $50 a month.
$50 a month. Okay. And that's going back to January 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Then my next question is regarding the telework, like being able to work telework permanently. How is that something that's in the works, or what's going on with that?
So what department do you work for?
EDD, unemployment.
Yeah, so I think that we're kind of actually looking at that telework agreement now, but based on, if you look at the DGS, the CalHR DGS model policy, they're going to review your telework policy yearly. So, so it could change for departments in regards to either, some departments, there's folks that are in the office 3 days a week and teleworking 2 days a week. And then there's departments like mine where we are pretty much at home full-time teleworking. That could change in a year. It depends on their business model and needs.
Okay, so there's nothing going on saying that it can be permanent for those who can,
Right.
who have
If,
been, okay.
if there's going to be a huge change, they do have to notice us.
Okay, so there's nothing happening now. Okay, so then my last question is regarding V time. There's like no information on that, like none. How do you find out about, like, as far as like the reasons why people can get V time and things like that? Like, what are they looking for? What kind of requirements do you have? You know, like,
Are you talking about vacation?
no, V time, voluntary time off.
Oh, voluntary PLP.
Not PLP, it's called V time. When you like when you do a schedule change because you may have medical issues, or you may do a schedule change because maybe you have, you know, stuff with your kids or whatever.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what V time is for EDD. I mean, there's voluntary PLP, which you can voluntarily take, get 1 day off a month with the 5% reduction, but I don't know about what V time is.
Okay, yeah, it's I know what VPLP is, but this is called V time.
Different.
And it's voluntary time, and so I don't know why. Maybe that's why there's no information about it. You know, I mean, I know people
it could
do
be
it.
it could be a specific EDD thing, and maybe I'd have to defer to my EDD folks. I have to check in with them, and we can get back to you.
Okay, because yeah, I don't know. There used to be a book, like a management book, a personnel book that we could look in to find out, you know, different things, but I guess that is done away with, or it's old or something. So there's not that much information about it. Okay.
All right, Chantel, thank you for reaching out. We're going to take one last call. Erica, can you unmute and join us?
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Erica. I'm from DMV. I have two questions. The first question is what the last caller was just talking about, the retroactive check for teleworking. Is that check going to be taxed?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question I have, thank you for that answer. The other question is, well, actually, I was listening, and I don't know if anyone's talked about this yet, but quite a few people on this platform was talking about being a wage slave. Is that correct? Is that what I heard? Didn't I hear somebody say?
That is how John Turek referred to it.
I was just laughing because I really don't think quite a few people have a clue about that struggle. But with that being said, my question is, now that Juneteenth is a federal holiday, the city has taken note, the banks have taken note, but not the state. So is the federal holiday in negotiations or will be on the bargaining table for 2023 and the years to come? And also too, is there back pay, like maybe an 8-hour holiday credit for 2022?
So the legislature has that issue taken up right now, right? In regards to Juneteenth and making it a state holiday.
The bill that's currently in front of, I don't have the number in front of me. The bill that's currently in front of the legislature has been twisted to basically an unpaid day off. So it's the current version of it, and this could change, is that Juneteenth cannot be denied if you want to take it off, but if you want to take it off, you have to use your own time. Now, to me, that's not a state holiday, and you know we'll go from there. But it's a bill that has not completed its path through the legislature and has not gotten to the governor's desk yet. In its current version, I don't see any advantage for Gavin to sign it with his future ambitions in mind. So the answer is, yeah, we don't know where that's going to go. And it is always something that the bargaining team can certainly discuss, right? But again, no major guarantees on the outcome. So Erica, I hope that answers your questions. We're at 8:05. I need to make sure that I'm respectful of both our interpreters and our support staff, which is comms and IT. So I'm leaving 9 people in the queue tonight. I apologize that we didn't get to you. And please come back and join us next week. Thanks, everybody, and have a great evening.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.